Oh, YouTube. Just got done eating some, fixed myself some sausage and some spicy peppers, and enjoying a cookie. A carrot cake cookie. Some wonderful buttercream and frosting and some nice nuts on there. I love some nuts, and I am a nut. Oops. It kind of reminds me of when Eugene had that cherry pie video. I've been eating a cherry pie. I prefer cream pies, honestly. The fragrance I'm going to be talking about today is Tom Ford's Noir de Noir. Now that is a 2021 bottle. Not sure about reformulations. I know a lot of people want the older formulation of this, but in my humble experience, the smell itself hasn't really changed, just the longevity. And this really was never a long-lasting fragrance to begin with. You know, have a fresh place to spray right there for to kind of, revamp my memory of this scent. Very beautiful dark chocolate, truffle, rose, some oud. Probably it's not real oud, but some woods, mossiness, violets. Now this is a brother scent or a sister scent to black violet. No, it's not black violet. What is it? Black orchid. This is a brother scent or sister scent to black orchid. Now, I can't really remember how the story goes, but either one was supposed to be called Black Orchid or one was supposed to be called Noir de Noir, and they switched the names up, and one got put out first, and then they decided to release another one, or one or the other, and so on and so forth. Same formula, they might have changed it a little bit, but I think these are pretty different, honestly, and I prefer Noir de Noir. The thing that really gets me in Black Orchid is the violets. Now, Tom Ford loves his violets, but in some of his compositions, like Noir, Black Orchid, and I think it's Black Violet, maybe? I think Black Violet. I think the violet notes are just way too strong. Just way too strong, way too pungent. And I think they're synthetic. And I know they have to be synthetic because my nose just really gets turned off to it really quick, and if I smell it too much, it gives me a headache. But this, to me, is really well-rounded. It's really well blended. And it doesn't smell cheap at all. None of Tom Ford's fragrances really smell cheap. And I love these bottles. I love when I walk into department stores and Tom Ford boutiques. And even though I kind of feel out of place there because everyone's always so dressed to the nines. And I'm just a hoodie and blue jeans or blue jeans and a t-shirt type of guy. I love seeing these bottles stacked up next to one another. They just look so beautiful. They look so simplistic, sexy. And I just really like the way they look stacked up next to each other or just, sitting there in general. Now, to me, this fragrance is a dark night fragrance. Shout out to Tom Hardy as Bane, I guess you could say. But man, this is just, it's sexy. It is. When you smell it, it's sexy. When you wear it, it's sexy. When other people smell it, they like it. It is a beautiful scent. It's really beautiful. And, where it really falls off is the performance aspect. And I know a lot of people, when he's mentioned performance, some people want it to last forever, some people don't. And on this one, I'm okay with how long it lasts because it lasts long enough to go out, watch a movie, and then have a nice dinner afterwards. Or have a dinner before the movie or whatever. It's a nice date night fragrance, It lasts about 4.5 hours. not too strong projection. You're not going to choke someone out with this. And I think that this is a very dark fragrance. And a lot of dark fragrances, I think, really last too long. You honestly gets to the point where you enjoy it, but you kind of wish it wouldn't last so long because of how dark and deep it is. And this is a deep fragrance. This is multi-leveled. It's not necessarily multifaceted, but it is multi-leveled because you get the florals, you get the classic chypre aspect, you get the rose oud aspect, you get the muskiness, you get the sexiness, and I think that's something that not a lot of people mention here, and I'm not sure if it's listed in the notes, but this has a nice sandalwood note in it. A really nice sandalwood note. And I think this one has gotten passed up by a lot of the heavier hitters, the larger, more voluptuous type fragrances that aren't necessarily as sexy, but they last longer and they're louder and they're more projecting. Now, even though I love a lot of those fragrances like Tuscan Leather, Tobacco Vanille, Ombre Leather, so on and so forth, I think this one still holds its own as a true fragrance. You can imagine when this came out in, I think it's 2007, nothing like this had actually been done before. Now, ever since then, there has been some fragrances like Rochefort, Charlatan, which I have it, in my fragrance cupboard, that kind of tries to do the same thing. And even though they go in a different way, and I appreciate the jasmine note in that fragrance, I really like this one. Now, the more and more I smell it, the more and more I can see the synthetic aspect, but it's not a bad synthetic aspect. It's not a cheap synthetic aspect. I think oftentimes in our niche of the fragrance community, synthetic comes across as cheap. You don't want to smell synthetic, but as long as the synthetics themselves aren't cheap, I have no problem with it. I really don't. Absolutely beautiful. I'm not sure if you can call this a real review. This is really just me talking about it. But it just smells so good. Oftentimes, in a lot of the reviews, I honestly can't speak because of how good it smells. And this is one of those fragrances that smells really good. Just beautiful. Really beautiful. I love the rose oud in here. It's not like a classic rose oud that you've smelt before. Everything is really subdued. Everything is really brought back and restricted. I feel like it's a very sexy fragrance. It's almost like, the sexual tension in this fragrance is so strong that Tom Ford had to hold it back, or, whoever the perfumer was had to hold it back in order to keep it that sexy without it being raunchy or overly loud or anything like that. But it's very subdued. It's very close to the skin, and I think it helps with the whole picture of the fragrance. We look at a fragrance, and oftentimes we don't look at the picture it paints. And this picture, the picture that this fragrance paints to me is of a beautiful night out with whomever you love and whomever you're going out with. Like I said, I think that it uses the lack of projection to its benefit because of the whole sexual tension within the fragrance. You have to hold it back. Sometimes, you have a sexual tension with someone else. You have to hold it back, so you don't end up making a baby in public. But then, you take someone back to, your apartment, your house, in the back seat, and you just really enjoy it, just like you enjoy this fragrance. But anyways, hope everyone has a great day. Tom Ford, Noir de Noir.